Welcome back to the Womanhood is Ghetto podcast. This guest today is my sister, like my real sister, same last name. Now I am my mama's only and one of my daddies. So she's my half sister. But we very much grew up together. The reason why I actually asked her to be on this podcast because she has a very unique story. Her story is really incredible and very inspiring to me as a woman and also as a newer mom. The journey that she went through from having a baby, becoming a single mother, raising a child on her own, and then having to send her baby off to college is quite the up and down type of journey. I hope when you listen to the journey that you walk away with feeling more encouraged, feeling good about where you are, and inspired by her story as much as it inspired me. Help me welcome to the hood my sister, Erika Desert Beans.
I'm super excited to introduce y'all to my younger sister, Erika. Erika, I tell all the Yonis about you before we jump into the questions and talk about your amazing story.
Oh, thank you. Emphasis on little sister. I am the youngest.
Not that young.
It doesn't matter. I'm still the youngest sister, and I'm proud of it. Born and raised in Brooklyn, out here, doing my best, doing the damn thing, enjoying life, and taking it one day at a time.
Yes. It was really the big reason why I wanted you on the Womanhood is Ghetto podcast is we went through a lot growing up. And into womanhood. So a big part of womanhood for us, I think, was obviously this maturing, right? But when you became a mom, it was different.
Yes.
It was different. Like my sister and I, pre-mommyhood was just doing what sisters do. Go back and forth, argue, make up, whatever. And I remember the irony was we got pregnant at the same time. Of course. Dad was really excited about that, wasn't he? And I unfortunately miscarried, but she had my niece. And I remember before I moved to Atlanta, I went to see you and she was different. Now that I know, she was just lacking sleep because I lack sleep and it's still a shock. And I remember the next time I saw you was unfortunately when your child's father passed away.
Yeah.
And I really want to jump into that. I get so many women that they want to only seem to relax and release. They want to know how to move on. A lot of times, particularly on TikTok, the women are just like, I'm going through a hard time. I can't get out, right? I don't know how to deal with this. I'm going through a breakup. My spouse passed away. I'm a single mom. I grew up with a single mom, and being a single mom by default sucks. I can imagine how much it sucks. Sometimes being a mom, okay, motherhood is just ghetto, but by default,
I ain't signed up for all of that.
Right.
Come take care of your responsibilities too. But yeah.
Yes. And you were so young. You're still, I think, early 20s.
23, right before my 24th, maybe?
20, yeah, I remember that because it was August. So before he transitioned, how long were you guys together?
All right. So we met when we were when I was 11, 12 years old. Yeah. And when I was 16, I found out that we had been together for a year. So
that's cute. That's how it goes. Men's I'm ready to be committed now, so we're together. Don't ask for our opinion though. But so y'all together for a while. So from the time you were 16 up until in your 20s, that's a minute. Is that 8 years?
8 years.
8 years. That's a long time. What do you call it? When he transitioned, how did you initially take it? Because this is someone you've been with since you've known since you were 12, right?
Yeah.
Together since you were 16, and now you're in your mid-20s.
Yes. So he had lupus. He had systemic lupus, and he struggled with it for about a year or two before he passed away. The year before he passed away was really bad, and I really thought that was going to be the year that God took him. But he recovered, and he fell ill again in 2009. So it was almost like I was going through this 2 years in a row. So it's he'll get over it. He got over it last time. Things will be okay. At that point, our relationship was a little rocky. So when he did pass away, it was kind of like all of these emotions and these feelings, like wanting to resolve what we didn't get a chance to resolve yet.
Yeah.
And then also having to grapple with feelings of abandonment, feelings of being alone. Like, I've been preparing myself for a life in this partnership with you. And now I have to figure it all out and do it quickly. So it was pretty rough.
With a child.
A
young child. I think Avani
she had just turned 3.
Just turned 3. Oh, just what couple of years. So, like, how did she take it? Because she's so young.
So she was there, right? Like, she went to go visit him in the hospital the day that he passed away. She was part of, all of the going away ceremonies, the repast, the funeral, the wakes. But at 3 years old, how do you really explain it to a child, right? So I don't know how she took it. I don't know what that felt like for a 3-year-old. I mean, we had conversations throughout the years, and you tell kids what you think they are ready to receive and handle. Pretty sure I told her in bits and pieces what happened, but immediately judging from my lens, I thought she took it okay, but who knows?
Right. And imagine, was it hard?
Yeah. I mean, she idolized her father. Like, them two were closer to me and her. Let's keep it real. Like, that was
definitely daddy's girl.
So, she had to get used to that. She had to renegotiate who she wanted to be partners with in this world. And by default, it was me. So.
By default. And how was the grieving process like? Because the closest person I've ever had was my mother, and we have the same dad. Just in case y'all are curious. And
shout out
to Fox. And I don't know. Like, I still think I process it oddly, because as a child, when you lose your parent, it doesn't make any sense because you're expecting them to just be there. But at a very young age, it's just like, you probably start to go to school, you're noticing how come some people have it, some people don't. Oddly, I went to a middle school where it was mainly single moms and there's just very few people had parents. So it was actually them looking at us like, where your parents at? So I imagine for her, did she ask questions? My mom said I ask questions about dad all the time. So I'd imagine she asked a lot of questions about who he was as she was growing up. And how was that? Was it weird? Like, how honest were you? Did you make him to be perfect for her? My mama didn't.
All right. So, similar to what you said, right? Like, when I was growing up, having a 2-parent household was not the norm, right? Like, people had dads around maybe, but 2-parent households was not a regular thing. I don't know what was happening in the 80s and the 90s, but it wasn't. We moved to Maryland, and by the time she entered school, it was a complete opposite for her. Like, our entire block was filled with 2-parent households. A lot of people in the schools that that she attended, in the communities that we lived in, they had 2-parent households. So I'm sure she felt that void. She noticed that things were different, right? She felt that she knew she didn't have a dad. It wasn't a secret. I didn't tell her like he ran away or, he went to work or anything like that. Your father passed away, sweetheart. I will say that our brother Nicholas was very instrumental in stepping in that gap. There were moments where he really became a father figure for her. I remember they had at her elementary school, they did a donuts for dad.
Oh,
down from New York to do donuts for dad, and then went back home the same day.
Nick is good for that. Like, he'll come through for that. Like, he is so good for that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is so.
Like, well, when she was like 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're looking at 2012. That was another year, but in 2012, I distinctly remember she asking me for a dad. So she put in the request. I don't know if you wanted me to pull one from, but she did the request.
I think you should start dating mama. So when it went from that August, and then you started to the initial grieving process, how long did it take for you to get to a state of, and I use this loosely, normalcy? Like for you to be like, okay, this is happening. This is my reality. Because y'all live together. And it's like, he's not here. I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. Like, how long did that take?
I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck. There was no normal for me back then. I was a mother. I'm in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I have a young child. I'm still defining my womanhood. I'm still trying to fully embrace my femininity, like figuring out who I am, who I want to be, where I want to go, all these other things. And then throwing a caveat of now I'm in a completely new place trying to establish myself. I'm working, I'm going to school. I don't know what the hell I was doing. So there was no normal. It was just a lot of chaos and a lot of like turning wheels for me at that point.
Yeah, I get that. And you decided to leave Brooklyn. I remember talking to you. I was like, you want to go to Baltimore? And you were like, yeah. I was like, we don't know anybody in Baltimore. I was like, why go from Brooklyn where there's literally family unit to Baltimore? You were like, did you not move to Atlanta? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I didn't have a 3-year-old. So I had to start over. It was just like, oh, but the 3-year-old, I just like, why Baltimore? Like, and how long because it didn't take you too long to decide to move to Baltimore.
Nope. So prior to Jadea's health failing, we had already started having a conversation about moving, right? Like we explored Virginia, we explored Philadelphia. He nixed Virginia and was like, okay, I'll settle for Philly because he could still commute back and forth to New York and, participate in the family business, whatever. So after he passed, I was still convinced I don't want to be here, especially now under these circumstances. Like, I remember because, we grew up together, we're from the same neighborhood, people looking at me with this sense of pity. And it used to drive me insane. I tell you, insane. So that Labor Day, because Labor Day in Brooklyn is a holiday, like a real Caribbean holiday. I was like, I'm not going to be here for this. I'm not doing this. So I went to go visit my homegirl who was in the Air Force at the time in Severn, Maryland. Mm-hmm. So I woke up one morning. I'm sitting on this woman's balcony. I'm looking at the trees. I'm looking at the grass. It's quiet as hell. And I said, I'm moving to Baltimore.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Baltimore was it.
I hadn't even seen Baltimore yet.
So it's just like, you just knew.
But in my head, Baltimore, Severn, Maryland is all one thing. So then I started doing my research. I'm like, yeah, Baltimore is a lot cheaper than Southern Maryland. Maybe not as nice, but it's definitely a lot cheaper. So Baltimore it is. And I ended up in the county. Plus it was like 3 hours away. And I'm like, all right. Easy shot back and forth to New York if I need to. I took full advantage of that too, by the way. But easy back and forth if I need to, and that was it.
That's actually smart because then at least, again, your driving distance, the push came to shove. I was a plane ride and I had to think about everything, especially when you don't have any money. Yeah, remember, I'm like, yeah, I need to come back home, but I need you to buy a ticket. Grown ass. But I got it though. But driving is, I think that was smart because then again, people can come to you a little bit easier because I think the drive from Baltimore to New York is what? Is it 3 hours?
3.5 hours, door to door.
Okay. See, I think that was really smart. Was it scary making that decision?
It was exciting. I don't know. I guess at that time I was always up for a good challenge. And there was like the newness of it, right? Like I'm going someplace new. I get to explore. I get to, learn me, really grow in the areas that I want to grow in. So, I mean, I got a thrill out of the idea. It's probably why I got executed so quickly too.
Yeah. How did your family take that? How did your mama take that?
Girl, shout out to Mom Dukes. I don't think she believed me until I got an actual job offer and I was looking for an apartment.
Okay.
I don't think she believed me at all.
Who was supportive of it? Other than myself? Because I was like, you're not that far, so you should be okay. And if push comes to shove, if everything hits the fan, one thing I always know about Haitian families, you can always just go back home. Talk shit, but look, I'm here now. Accept it.
So I had a cousin in Jersey, Felicia. Mm-hmm. I would probably say she was the most supportive in the process. And Like the support at that time looked like she was coming with me on interviews, sitting in the car with Ivani, visiting daycare providers, helping me figure that part out, and also apartment hunting with me too.
Yeah. See, this is why I tell people, like, it doesn't matter what the extent of your family is. Like, you still need a community. When they say they need a village, that is not a lie, and not everybody's willing to do this. So shout out to Felicia, because it's a lot to make that trip. Because she, at the time, was she living in Jersey?
At the time, she was in Jersey.
Yeah. So that's what's up. How did how did their in-laws take it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We weren't close at that time.
Yeah. I imagine a lot of these grandmothers, like, how far are you going to be?
Well, also keep in mind, Chidea's parents at the time lived in Grenada, so they would only come up here to visit. The only family that he had in New York, besides the aunts and the uncles and the shitload of cousins, was his siblings.
Okay.
And you know, I didn't have a relationship with any of them. Not a good one, at least.
Okay. So when you were like transitioning to Baltimore, I remember your first apartment and that whole timeline, because you were there for a total of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you went from one apartment to the next, and then you bought a house. Like, what that process in itself, because deciding to become a homeowner and adjusting to a new city, and just the transition going from one place to another, what was that like?
So let me tell you about that first apartment, right?
Everybody got that first apartment.
Rent was $845. Okay. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet, gated community, had a pool, had a community center, had a fitness center. Girl, you can wash and vacuum your car on the property. Okay. I'm 23 years old living like this.
Wait, 1,700 square feet? I know that was different than Brooklyn.
I thought I made it. Do you hear me? So it kind of cushioned the transition for me a lot, right? Because it's like you're coming from Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a lot of perks, a lot of amenities. Like, this is what I know. This is where I grew up. This is what I'm comfortable with, right? Like, this is my norm. And then I moved there, and it's like, oh, this is nice. Yeah. Oh, this is really nice. I felt bougie. Yeah. So buying the house was kind of like the next step. It's like, all right, they upped my rent from like $845 to $899, and I was like, oh hell no, y'all can't do this to me. And so I bought the house.
Okay, and you went through like a first-time home buyers program.
Yes.
Yeah, and I always encourage people to do that, because I went through one too. They help a lot with trying to help you prepare credit-wise, how much you need for your down payment, and sometimes they help with the down payment. Mm-hmm. So that was smooth, and this was mid 20, was it?
I bought the house in 2012. So I went straight from the apartment into the house. Okay. And I tell people this all the time, like, God is forever on my side.
Yeah.
Forever on my side. Like, the seller gifted me the down payment. So between him gifting me the down payment, between the down payment assistance that I got, I don't even think I put down $500 on the house.
Yo, that is like, that's straight faith. Shout out to God, because it was meant to be.
Yes.
And that was a nice house. It was like a 3-story. It was really nice. How did that feel knowing like you went from pampered princess in Brooklyn, right? Deciding to like move to Baltimore. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get a job, get a baby in daycare. I own my own home. And you were 30.
I wasn't 30 yet. I was not 30 yet. So I think, how old was I? Like, I bought the house August of 2012. So I might have been like 26 going on 27. I can't do that anymore. But whatever. I was not 30 yet. So I felt, even more accomplished. Like, my daughter doing good in school. She's getting ready to go into first grade. Yeah. I had me a little at the time.
He was funny. We'll get to that in a minute. No. I truly admire that about you. It's like you said, all right, I'm going to set these goals. I'm not going to overwhelm myself with them, because I never heard you say, I have to do this, this, and that. Because sometimes I hear women, they're like, I've got to do this, I got to do that. And they overstress themselves and they don't get done.
Yeah.
And I admire that about you because you just made a decision. This is the plan. Like you didn't say, I'm gonna go to Baltimore, I'll figure it out. It was like, I kind of have a plan, I'm gonna figure it out. And then, but I'm gonna take care of the necessary needs that I need to do. And then these are the next steps. And then you just trusted yourself.
Yeah.
And this is, like I said, I always said that's a scary step to leave home. And not just home like your mama's house, but like leave safety where family is, where friends is. Because I know when my ex and I broke up, my mother was so ridiculous. She's like, well, since y'all are broken up, bring your black ass back to Boston. I'm just like, and I had a decision to make. I was like, I think at the time I was going to move to New York because I didn't want to move back to Boston. And my cousin Lauren and I were going to,
I remember.
yeah, we're going to look for an apartment and all this other stuff. But then, yeah, I met a dude and, well, it's another day.
Oh, speaking of dudes, dudes always fuck up the plan. Like, and it don't even be because they got good dick. It's just because we be stupid. So anyway, one thing that a lot of people did not know is that when I went to Baltimore, it was like, all right, I didn't have a plan, but it was like, all right, let me go gather my bearings. I'll finish school. And then when I finish school, I'll come back. I was halfway through my BSW when I moved. So when I went there, I enrolled into Coppin State and I finished my bachelor's in social work, May of 2012. That same month, I got into a relationship.
I remember him. He's so funny. He smelled good.
The both of y'all, okay? Like,
he smells so nice.
Hey, he's probably gonna watch this too. He's still cool, but fuck the both of y'all. But nah, so me and him ended up getting together, and it was kind of like, well, shit, if I'm gonna try this out, let me just whatever. So sometimes misreading signs, right? Like I should have ran like I was supposed to, but I thought, well, maybe Avani's asking me for a dad. I just had a great accomplishment. This is supposed to be my time to move. Maybe this is my reason to stay.
There you go. And then that's the year you bought the house.
That was the summer I bought the house.
The summer, that's right. Because I think by September you were like all moved in, and
I actually closed on the house August 26th. It was around Shaday's birthday. August 26th to August 27th of 2012.
Okay. There you go. It's always men. Speaking of dating men in Baltimore, so how different were they? Because the men from different cities are different. To me, they're all the same, but their attitudes are different. And Baltimore dudes from Baltimore, they choose when they talk. But how different were they? Because Brooklyn dudes are they're New Yorkers.
So I can say this, right? Prior to experiencing Baltimore dudes, I hadn't really dated New York or Brooklyn dudes much, right? It's like, my daughter's father and I were together. Right. I have a lot of guy friends, so I can compare them in that regard. But for the most part, it's like I would compare what I would hear from my friends back home,
right?
Guys in New York, and compare that to my experiences. Some things that stood out for me, Baltimore men, Maryland men in general, from my experiences, were extremely generous. They carry traditional values in a sense. I've never met so many married men in my 20s until I really started immersing myself into Baltimore culture. Granted, they were probably divorced by their 30s, but in their 20s, they were married, which was like weird to me. And even though they held those or they were trying to emulate those traditional values, they were extremely rough. Extremely rough around the edges.
I dated a Baltimore dude before. He was not generous.
He gave you a headache though. I remember that.
Whatever. We don't talk about that. He's so annoying. Did you tell your daughter about dating?
While I was dating?
Yeah, while you were dating.
I've always been nervous about the whole stepdad idea, right? Like you grow up hearing all of these horror stories. You have to worry about whether or not the man is gonna embrace the child or treat the child different, or all that other stuff. And then a part of me, honestly, didn't want to. How do I frame it? Like, in a way, I still wanted to honor Chidea's place in our lives. I don't even know what that means now that I say it, but I feel like that's what I was thinking back then. It's like, starting over and having somebody else take his place didn't seem right.
Right. I mean, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Because, like, I think the adjusting to another man in your life and then truly knowing him takes time.
Mhm.
And, like, I'm very cautious with my daughter. You know what I mean? Very dog. Because I think I also had to block some things off my social media because every time I see somebody's murdering someone, and then I'm like, I'm gonna have to murder them. So
Right?
it's like you got to be just extra cautious. So it's wise. I think sometimes someone feel pressured to like try to replace their significant other just too quickly. And then they catch themselves in these situations. It could be pressure, and sometimes it could be loneliness. And you need a break.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you need a break. So what better break would you have than a spouse? So I fully understand. I know I've been needing a break. And so I totally get it. But I think it's wise to say, kind of take your time with trying to quote unquote get a stepdad into their lives. And then
I did try though.
Yeah.
With my 2012, I did try and failed. And it's not because he was bad or anything like that. It's just I realized I did not know how to do this. This was very awkward for me. His we try to do the whole family unit thing and it just didn't work out. Ironically, the girls got along really great. His daughter couldn't stand me. Avani couldn't stand him. Avani doesn't remember him. His daughter doesn't remember me, but they remember each other. I don't know how they think they know each other.
That's so funny. I know our parents knew someone. I mean, we know somebody, but here we are. So there you are. You own a home. You have a good job. You got your master's degree too, right?
Not yet. I didn't get I didn't finish my master's until 2020.
Gotcha. So in this process, like you kind of settled. I remember the day you told me, I think I moved back to Brooklyn. I was like, why?
Which time?
Then when you actually decided to move, I almost didn't believe you. But
yeah,
you have a house. You're like, I'll sell it. I'm like, you think you can buy a house in Brooklyn? We were looking up houses and everything. I was like, well, this one ain't so bad till I saw the price. I was like, Jesus Christ, I forgot.
And the prices didn't get no better. I had a great job, right? I'm a state employee. I am working in the judiciary system. I'm commuting, but it's okay. I love my job. I love all that it comes with. I love the flexibility that I have, the creativity that I have within government, right? Yeah. And I really see myself growing in this area. My supervisor at that time was a weird guy, but he didn't know what the hell I did, so he just let me do it. And the more I did my job, the less questions people asked him. So he pretty much gave me free reign. It was cool. He had a conflict with, I don't even know how to explain. He was the administrative clerk. He had a conflict with the administrative judge. Right. And the administrative judge asked me to work on some project. To complete the project, I needed to work with my supervisor. This is December 2019. I call him and I'm like, hey, I need this. He's like, yeah, I'm Christmas shopping right now. I'll get it back to you. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm going on vacation, so whatever. He never gets back to me. I called him again the next day. He gives me the yeah. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So right before I go on vacation, I submit the report to the AJ. And I'm like, yeah, everything you asked for is in here, except for this. Didn't tell her why, didn't make excuses. I just flat out said, yeah, you got everything you need except for this thing here. Apparently she knew why.
Oh, dang.
I guess she deduced the only way you were unable to do this is because you were unable to get it from that. So them two had a tiff. I come back from vacation in January. This man must have watched me walk into the building. He calls my desk and he says to me, you threw me under the bus. I'm like, huh? He's like, you threw me under the bus? I was like, you know what? I'm coming upstairs. Hold on. Hang up the phone, go upstairs. And he basically accuses me of throwing him. This is a white man, by the way. Accuses me of throwing him under the bus with our black AJ, administrative judge. I'm like, first of all, no the fuck I didn't. Second of all, and this is really how I'm talking to him, but this is really how we spoke. First of all, no the fuck I didn't. Second of all, I asked you for this twice. You did not give it to me. I told her this is what she asked for, except for these things. If she figured it out on her own, that's between y'all two. I ain't got shit to do with me. Third of all, don't ever insult my character like that.
Right.
I don't need to throw you under the bus. Like, I'm not that type of person. That created tiff. I get this random ass email from a recruiter saying to me, hey, we saw your skills and think you'll be a good match for this position. I'm not looking for a job. I'm barely on LinkedIn. I see this. It's a joke. I sent it to Nicholas. Nicholas like, you should apply for it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll apply. So I applied, sent them my resume, no cover letter, no message in the body of the email. And they called me for an interview.
So I swear, when you looking for a job heavily, you don't find it. But then when you're like, nah, what the hell? And that's when they come.
This is the thing. And again, this is how the universe works. I really feel like God knew what he was doing. Always playing chess, not checkers, right? So if I had never had that disagreement where this man, my supervisor at the time, questioned my character,
Yeah,
I would have disregarded the email, but I was angry. And they called me for the interview. I went on the interview. I went for the interview. I think the first one was like the last week of January, and the second one was like it was like back to back. However it worked out, it was like 2 before the world went to hell in a handbasket.
right.
February 13th, that Friday is when everybody was supposed to go home for the weekend because of COVID.
Yeah.
And the whole world shut down for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So I did the interviews. They had ended up calling me in May and saying, yeah, we really want to offer you the position, but right now we're on a hiring freeze. Are you still interested? I was like, yeah, sure. So they called me in like the end of June, beginning of July, and they offered me the position. They wanted me to start in 2 weeks. I was like, hold up.
Right.
I'm out of state. I'll start in August. So I went right back up to my supervisor.
Yeah. I know he was mad as hell.
I am leaving. You can either accept my resignation effective today or allow me to work remotely and I'll resign after Labor Day.
He took the resignation after Labor Day.
After Labor Day.
Yeah.
Because they were also in a hiring freeze. So if I am not there to do the work and to, help manage like the court program, ain't nobody else going to.
Right. That's smart. That's a very good, that's also playing chess. So, because you knew.
And he ain't talked to me for 2 months. He talked to me at all. He emailed me, he texted me, he ain't called me. If he had a message for me, he related through somebody else.
That is hilarious. So petty.
Yeah, white men for you, I tell you.
Oh my God, egotistical. So now you're about to move.
Yes.
All right. And I remember you saying that you felt super good about this. Like you was ready to go.
Because the pandemic and that like first wave really taught me a lot. Like that's when Dad passed away. My mom was in the hospital sick. There was a lot going on. And my job forbid me from going to New York. Like as a judiciary employee, we were not allowed to travel to the hotspot. And at that time, New York City was a hotspot. So it's like, I'm out here in Maryland. I'm literally jeopardizing my life to come into your courthouse. My daughter is at home alone. She has nobody with her.
Right.
It was like in that moment, I realized how alone I was out here, regardless of the good job, regardless of the nice house, regardless of how, well Avani was doing in school, regardless of the network that I had, I really and truly was alone.
Mm. Yeah.
So, going back to New York, where, I have a network, I have a community, I have roots, it just made sense. There were things about it that I liked and things about it that I loved.
Yeah.
But I always knew I wasn't going to stay there.
Yeah.
And I was never really able to grow roots. That's one thing that stood out. I was never able to grow roots. I always felt like a foreigner in that area. Like I didn't belong.
And it's like you made the decision, said, all right, I'm gonna go and back to New York. How did Avani take it?
So she was excited, right? Like Avani loves her family. Like she's extremely family oriented. She loves being around her grandmother. She loves being with her uncle, seeing her aunts. I think what made it easier was the fact that she always suspected. It's not like I told her as soon as I got the job offer. She knew it was a possibility when I was applying.
Yeah.
Right. Or after I had interviewed, rather. So there was that. She was graduating junior high or middle school. They call it middle school there. She was graduating middle school.
Yeah.
So it was like a transition year. But also she didn't have the opportunity because of the pandemic to, really continue those relationships by the time that not in like a meaningful in-person way. They had like, their phones, their social medias, things like that. But she wasn't spending time because, we were
You're locked down,
6 feet apart, isolating. Yeah.
Sometimes I think people are fearful of moving back home because they feel like a failure. But I always say it's an end of a chapter.
So that first part is real. Going back to 2013, I had lost the job and I should have moved back in 2013. Relationship was done. I had the house, but relationship was done. I had no job. I'm like, my pride wouldn't let me go.
Yeah, I remember that.
Pride would not let me return back home. And I should have then, but growth. In 2020, when I came back, what made it different was that I was coming back on my own terms.
Yeah.
So I was coming back stable. Granted, I moved back in with my mom's. Didn't have my own place, but I had a damn good job.
Yeah.
Damn good job. So it was kind of like, all right, that it'll balance itself out. It's not like I had to go or like I lost my job or I lost something back in Maryland. It was more like I am making this decision because this is what I want right now.
See, I think that's still smart because I think the difference of giving up is if you run into a hardship and you just run back home. So I think in 2013, it's like, well, this is a hardship. Unless I'm burning to the ground, I'll find a way. Mm-hmm. I'll find a way because I think we were both broke at that time. And I was like, I think my blood pressure is going to go high because I can only eat noodles. And you were like, I'm going to have to buy Fonnie Great Value on the floor. And I was like, I've been buying Great Value.
Wait, yes.
Oh, those broke days.
Yeah. Now that she's back, now that she's in college, I'm like, yeah, Great Value sounding pretty good. I might have to reconsider this.
I swear. Yeah. But you didn't give up. I think kind of because I think in real life, if you didn't have, even if you hit that wall in New York, you'd find a way. But like you said, the difference is I moved on my own terms. It was a transitional phase for both of y'all, really. Yeah. She's about to go to high school and you got a new job. So what's holding you back? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's interesting. Like I said, she was just like, all right, either way, I'm good. Not everybody's that simple. Sometimes their kids want to stay. There's something holding them back. But I think the timing was right because there's no confliction there, right?
Absolutely.
Did it feel good to be home?
It did. It did. So one of the things that I appreciate the most was being able to experience my mom as an adult.
Yes.
I had Avani and then I moved in with her dad, like 20 years old, 21. And then from there, I went to Maryland. So my relationship with my mom always had a different power dynamic. Sprinkling being Haitian is just all fucked up. But it was like the power dynamic was different. I was a child. She was the adult. When I came back, yes, I am still her child, but we were kind of like closer because now we're two grown women, Ma.
Right.
So I got to learn from her in a different way. And for me, that meant a lot because the reality of losing dad at that time was, he died of an illness. Alzheimer's took him away long before it actually took him away. So I didn't get to learn him and, ask him certain questions
right
as an adult. So I'm like, you know what? I'm definitely going to seize this opportunity now.
Yeah.
So that really became important to me. a lot of other things happen, like trying to, really come into this role at work remotely. These people don't know me. I don't know them. And I'm sitting here on a camera screen
Right.
on my laptop talking to them. Like, that was weird. Like, I was still used to in-person meetings all the time.
Right.
Helping Avani transition with school online. She's going through the same thing. How do I learn these people
Right.
in front of a computer? Plus, there was like the cultural differences, right? Like growing up in New York versus her coming from Baltimore, not even like regular Baltimore, but Baltimore County, which is a whole different ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So her trying to forge relationships virtually, and then her also grieving. Like, we moved in August, but Zion passed away.
Mm-hmm. And that's her stepbrother.
Her half brother.
Her half brother. Yes, her half brother. Yeah. And you had a very good relationship with him.
Yeah.
That was like your son.
Zion was my son.
Yeah.
And he used to call me Ma. And like, that was my baby. I've literally known that boy his entire life.
Yeah.
Literally known that boy his entire life.
Yeah.
So he always had a soft spot in my heart.
And he was really young too, and he was just kind of growing and just living. And then he transitions at a very young age, so that's like a second blow for both of y'all. Yep. But not back to back, but like in both transition periods.
Yeah. So his relationship with Avani, from my purview, was really important, right? Because her and him shared the same loss.
Yeah.
Chidea had, he was both of their fathers. So that was her big brother. That's someone that she looked up to very much, I think. And I'm speculating at this point, right? Like, her connection to Chidea. Because by this time, like, as she got older, Chidea's a memory. And it's not even like her memory. It's just things that people around her told her about the man that passed away when she was 3, unfortunately.
Right.
So we were looking forward to being able to reconnect with Zion when we came back. Didn't get that chance.
Yeah, she had this in her bedroom, like the big whiteboard. And I remember she had Zion's name on there. So I imagine like how excited it is. Because growing up as an only child, the one thing you want is a sibling.
Yes.
Because regardless if you see people with 1-parent home, 2-parent homes, you want a sibling.
Yeah.
It's different, and people want to throw shit on only children all the time. You and so
it's real. Yes, it's real.
But they want a sibling. They want to share.
Share. They don't know how to share. Y'all selfish. Y'all stingy. So
don't want to share with. How are you supposed to learn?
Find a cousin.
So I imagine that transition would be like, it'll be different, but you still have support. And how is this your in-laws now?
So by this point we've really built a good relationship, and hands down full credit goes to Daisy, Chidea's mom. She was extremely persistent.
Yeah.
She would call me every week to check up on me, to check up on Avani. And that kind of like, she would update me, like, what's going on with the sister, with the brother, with the auntie, with this cousin. Like, she kept me involved in their family. And then on top of that, I also, like, when she would come up to New York to visit, I would come up here and see her, bring Avani, make sure they had that relationship. She was extremely vested in making sure that she continued a relationship with Chidea's children.
That's important. And I appreciate about that, because I mean, that's an extension of her child.
Yes.
That's an extension of a child. And I always say, like, sometimes mother-in-laws can be challenging, but they're still your family.
Yeah. And she was a challenge. She was a challenge. I love Daisy to death. Like, she's like my other mom to this day. Yeah. But that lady was feisty as hell. Oh my God. She meant well. Yeah. But be kind, lady. Like, damn.
I'm going to remember this when you become a grandmother. But just be kind, lady. Damn. But
but not. So we had a good relationship. They were happy. They were surprised actually. I think they were. Yeah, I can say Nanika was probably the most. They were all surprised, but Nanika expressed her surprise. Like, you sure you want to move back? So I guess they might have been trying to leave New York as I'm trying to come back, right?
oh,
They'd stayed here, they'd lived here, their experiences were different. I guess they understood my reasonings for wanting to come back. Really wanted to make sure Avani had a connection to her family. Avani had that opportunity. Avani can tap into more than just me. Like they can participate in, this stage of her life in a more intense way. And they were cool with that. They liked that idea. But again, it's like, you sure you want to come back to New York? New York didn't get any better. I'm like, yeah, but family,
Yeah. Funny. And you were ready. You're ready to come back. So 4 years go back. You're all adjusted. I know the Desiree side of the family was relieved that you was back. I know that.
They were happy Avani was back. Shit, once you have kids, nobody give a fuck about you no more.
That's true. That's true. But just send me clothes. That's not his impossible diapers.
Like my mother calls me every morning. How's Avani doing? Ma, she has a phone. I'm doing great.
Thanks for asking.
But no, they were happy. They were really happy.
That's good. So the 4 years go by, and then here we go. Graduation day came this year.
Yeah.
Yes, you had a high school graduate, and she was going to college. I remember last year when you were like, these applications, and she's getting accepted to all these schools. Were you anxious because she wanted to go to school out of state?
Yes and no. So my undergrad is from a HBCU, right? Mm-hmm. But I went non-traditionally. So it was like, I know there's a lot of opportunity. I know there's a lot of things here. I didn't get a chance to experience it. I really hope Avani does. And Maryland has a lot of great schools. Yeah. A lot of great schools, right? So I really wanted her to go to school in Maryland, even though I moved out. I moved out of the state. Avani wanted to go upstate. She was looking at, I'm not going to name the school. She was looking at a couple of schools upstate, but she ended up applying to Bowie.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really unique. Little backstory. When we lived in Maryland and Avani was young, and I mean young, I mean like elementary school young, she said she was going to Bowie one homecoming weekend.
Oh, wow.
We whooped Howard's ass in homecoming. And everybody was talking about it. We're listening to the radio station and people are calling in, dragging Howard for the ass whooping that they took. And Avani is like, I'm going to Bowie. And I'm like, that's right, baby. Go to a HBCU. So when she chose to actually go to Bowie, I was like, this is interesting. Full circle. You said you were going to Bowie and here you are applying to Bowie. And when she got the acceptance, it's kind of like, she got early decision acceptance. It's kind of like, all right, nothing else mattered.
Right.
Nothing else mattered. Any other acceptance? Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, that's
cute. I'm going.
I sat quiet, so I'm like,
it was her decision. Now, were you nervous about her going? Because that was like, we're talking 18 years.
So no, I still am extremely excited, right? Number one, Maryland is where she spent her formative years plus most of her childhood, right? From 3 to 14, this is where she developed. Right. So assimilating with the culture was not going to be a difficult task, in my opinion. So I'm like, all right, that's covered. Avani's really a great young woman, a great child. She's smart beyond her years. She has a high sense of emotional intelligence. She knows how to articulate and think on her feet.
She does.
And get things done, right? So I don't have to worry about those things. She understands the importance of, going to school and getting your education. She knows how much it means to me. And she knows, I don't care what you do. Don't get pregnant. Don't flunk out, right? Like,
yeah,
that's it. And throughout her educational career, she did really good with that, right? Like making sure she stayed on target, on task, getting good grades, all that other stuff, being respectful to teachers. Like, all right, you got a problem with a teacher? Say, okay, thank you. And then you call me up and big dog coming. And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So, so I knew I didn't have to worry about her having altercations too much, or conflict with teachers and, you know, whatever. She learned how to resolve problems very quickly. Take that back. No, she didn't. She learned how to resolve her own conflicts. But of course,
Right.
Sometimes it takes consultation. So it's like, all right, at least I know it's, if she's not able to do it on her own, she'll know that she can always reach out to me. Happy about that. And then it's like she's getting a chance to do the things that I didn't do.
Yeah.
And to me, that means more than having to worry about, oh my God, what am I going to do with myself now? Not that that's a problem, but I'm just saying, right? It's like the world is your oyster, baby girl. Take full advantage. Make me proud. Give me something to watch. Like, be great. So.
Yeah, and now you're in the next phase of your life. So they call it empty nester phase. And here come Airbnb talking about you don't have an empty room, you have an Airbnb. Buy Airbnb. Anyway, but it's the empty nester phase. Like now it's like you spent 18 years caring for a person, and you still do it because motherhood never ends. I told you, I think down to my mother's last day, I harassed her for something. If it wasn't food, can you ship me this? Oh, I need you to help me with that. Or hey, one time I come home at 2:00 in the morning. I was like, I woke up, I can't sleep. And she's like, all right, I'll stay up until you fall asleep. And for some reason, 15 minutes, I was like, Mom, I'm tired. I told you, bye. She called me and said, don't ever call me again at 2:00 in the morning. Waste my time. Motherhood never ends. And I'm learning it, y'all. I'm getting the karma. I am.
Good for you.
But it's a little different now when you get to really sleep in before work, of course, but like it's a different time. So I think dating now would be a little bit different than before. Yeah. You're already a big traveler. Like, one thing I want you to talk about is the bike club you joined. Like you're part of the bike club. Like these really healthy hobbies. Because I think sometimes women think hobbies are, let me go out and drink. But like you make your hobby healthy.
Some of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our thing, but I think it's cool. Like you're part of a bike club, and that happened when you moved back to New York.
Yes, it happened when I moved back to New York. I joined the bike club. We are all Black, doing great things in this world, doing great things in society, coming together, cutting up, having a great time, and also staying healthy on the bikes. So it's like there's a really strong social aspect to it. There's a networking aspect to it. A fellowship would be social, right? But in a different sense. There's a fellowship aspect to it. And then there's the combined health.
Yeah.
Like Black people and people of color in general already have way more predispositions than others.
Right.
This is a way of addressing that and addressing it collectively.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's cool. I saw a picture of you with Spike Lee. You didn't even tell me you met Spike Lee. I saw it on your Instagram. I said, no, Erika ain't sitting there. I was like, is that the real Spike Lee? I'm zooming in. I was like, yo, Jake, they're in the bike club with you and with Spike Lee. And I think it was like on the Do the Right, on the
it was the anniversary weekend of Do the Right Thing. Yep.
So, fun fact. So the 20th Do the Right Thing anniversary, he was at the, you know what? I'm gonna talk about on camera because if I ever meet him, he's gonna know I'm the girl that flashed him. So that's another day. Yeah, it's a whole. I wore a shirt. Well, it's already out there now. So I went to the Do the Right Thing 20th anniversary. Somewhere. Hopefully he won't remember. He won't be watching this. But it was at a auditorium. So he had the cast there. I thought that was so cool. I wore a shirt, and we, our family has big boobs, and it was a little tiny string holding up, holding up my boobs. And then the string pop. I'm asking a question, and before I sit down, the string pop, boobs fly out. Spike Lee went. I'm so embarrassed. I was like, I wonder if he saw you. He was like, is that the same girl 10 years later?
But that funny look he gave me would explain it now.
You're like, she's got big boob. That's probably her. So, but I thought that was so cool that like your team, your biker club went and like I was like, I can't believe they meet Spike Lee. So I think that's so good. You ever grieve your old life?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I mean, there really is no reason for me to, right? It's like my old life is what led me to my present life.
Yeah.
I am thankful for the experiences. I am thankful for the moments. I appreciate them all. And where necessary, I forgive myself for some of the decisions that I made and I keep it moving. Like, it is what it is.
Okay. When traveling, now you have the opportunity to travel even a little bit more. I think sometimes when people are afraid to travel, they do locally. You are not afraid to travel solo or with the group or with some of the people that you've met. What advice would you give to people who are afraid of traveling? Or better yet, I think sometimes people wait for other people and then they never do it. And so then they never do it.
Yeah, waiting on other people is really not going to cut it. There are people that are going to like the things that you like, and there are people that are going to not be in a place to experience the things that you want them to experience with you. And all of that is fine, right? Mix it up a little bit. There are things that you can do by yourself. There are places that you can go by yourself. There are places that you might appreciate better with friends. There are places that you might want to just say for a little vacation. All of that is fine. Start somewhere though. Like the world is so much bigger than we think. So much bigger than we think.
So what advice would you give the single mommies from starting to becoming an empty nester? Because you've had quite the journey.
Child, be kind to yourself. Do your part. God got the rest. That applies to everything, right? That dude that you're thinking about, the job that you want, the things that you're trying to achieve, do your part. Don't worry about the rest. It's okay to take that pause. Sometimes as single mothers, we think that we have to do it all. We think that not being able to get to something in that very moment equates to our failure. And that's really not the truth. Like you can put something off for tomorrow or for when you are in a better place, whether that's mentally or spiritually or emotionally, to manage it. It doesn't strip you of any of your superpowers. Your superpowers will remain so long as you do.
That's really good advice. If you could change anything, and I mean anything throughout this journey, what would it be?
If I could change anything, I would have believed in myself a little bit more. I think one of the things that I grappled with the most, just, looking at the hand that I was dealt, was failure. I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of failing as a mother. I was afraid of failing as a single mother. I was afraid of failing as a woman, as, someone embarking on their career.
Yeah.
And that fear drove me in a way that drained me. Still really extremely proud of my accomplishments and all of the things that I've been able to experience. Yeah. That doesn't take away from that. But the amount of energy, spiritual and emotional energy I had to exert was because of that fear. And that, manifested into other things that I had to also then work on. And also I would say being able to be vulnerable. Vulnerability was something that I struggled with for a lot of different reasons, right? Like trust, fears of abandonment, and a whole bunch of other different reasons. But being able to be vulnerable and humble enough to say, I need help in this moment, or I can't do this by myself, versus going into overdrive, is probably something I would reconsider.
That's very good advice. When growing up, our moms got close because they were dealing with shit. You know what I mean? Having to carry so much. And we see that, and we didn't see them flinch. It's like they did what they had to do for each other, for themselves, and then for the kids. And it's like that's all we knew. Because I wish I knew how to ask for a lot more help than I needed to, because I had it. I waited till later on in life. But those times where it's just like, yo, I need a break. Just being able to be vulnerable to show that. But I don't think that we're taught to do that. But then I think now the new generation is seeing it differently. And hopefully when they ask and they'll see, well, I can ask. It's not a failure. It's not a weakness. That and it's also okay to be fearful, but not, that doesn't mean that this is all going to fall apart or you're going to look a certain way. Like, you don't have to be vulnerable. I forget what the hashtag was, but it was so over it. I was like, I felt that. Like, I don't want to be a strong Black woman no more either. So I just want
I don't either.
Yeah, I want to be cool.
Soft girl era. That's it.
Yeah, I so appreciate you telling me. I was so excited about this because I admired you so much growing up. I seen you become a mom, because when I get it, I remember saying this woman wakes up way too early, and of course I don't roll out of bed till 10 o'clock. I was just
you were living the life.
I was in my especially in my 20s. Like,
what the day when the tables are turned? What the day when
I went through a divorce.
I'm sorry. It's not okay. Let me be nice.
I know when I was in Atlanta, my single girl summers was a mess. I think you were like, "Do you even buy groceries?" Like, I don't want to. Somebody's paying for it. I don't care. Like
that.
It was like that. The men in Atlanta are interesting, particularly the older ones. They're fun. They're fun until they want some. But you can do that too.
I haven't booked. Maybe longer, by the way. Maybe longer if you ask Avani.
Well, to be fair, you're transitioning from becoming an empty nester. So now is the time. And now's the time. It's probably, but watch. You'd be like, this now is time they free, then you get married. That's how it happens. But I super duper appreciate you sharing your story, because I know I get it so often. Like, what do I do with this? I feel uncomfortable with that. And I think you opening is very inspirational, not just to me, but to other women. And this shit is ghetto as fuck. But I'm glad we're able to share it and encourage many, many other ladies. So appreciate you, sis, like real sis. And we gonna sign off. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.